I wanna be real. Ooh. I got this light inside of me.
Welcome to the Daily Allegory through Astrological Divination. Today, we're going to start with the daily affirmation. And that is, what was hidden fractures in the light, and only truth survives the unmasking. I hope everybody enjoyed their Christmas. We're going to jump right into this story, and I'm back at it. So the story is a disturbed psychological horror story following a child trapped inside a home ruled by a mother whose identity fractures into multiple people in one body. So vividly that even school professionals document the child's describing her as very distinct presences. A warm, attentive mom, a blue energy who disappears into the bedroom for long, chaotic encounters with different men, sometimes groups, returning, reeking, and unreachable, and a terrifying red energy, who erupts into violent rages, threatening to kill the children, sabotaging their father with poison and murder plots, destroying belongings, and living a double life of piety by day and predation by night. Spiraling through addiction, scams, impulse, sex, cruelty, and occult intimidation, the story's endgame ignites when a recent murder attempt fails and the father escapes, triggering what's known as the Winter Project, a high-profile FBI operation mythologized as quantum surveillance that has secretly been tracking her and her criminal circle for years, finally gaining traction because this time the target survives. Something that's never happened before. Now, a father who ends up being revealed as human adjacent, unnaturally resilient, who joins forces with the elite military force officials to collapse an organization and expose an expanding ledger of crimes against humanity and federal charges, leaving the child's nightmare reframed not as a private madness, but as the front door to something vast, orchestrated, and finally brought into light. This is the story, The Colors She Wore at Night. By the time the boy was old enough to understand patterns, he already knew his mother came in shifts. It wasn't a metaphor to him, it was survival logic. Professionals wrote dissociation and fragmentation in their reports, but the child described it in colors because colors were faster than words. It was more familiar and easier to describe. Warm was daylight, attentive, affectionate, almost convincing. Warm packed lunches, spoke kindly to teachers, prayed loudly, and performed motherhood like a role that she'd memorized. Warm existed just long enough to make outsiders doubt the child's fear. Then there was Blue. Quiet, secretive, nocturnal. Blue withdrew into locked rooms and long nights filled with murmurs, coded phone calls, and the steady rhythm of people coming and going. The boy didn't understand what Blue was doing, only that she returned changed, cold, distracted, carrying a smell that made his skin crawl and his sister cry. Blue erased evidence in the morning, sanitized the house, rewrote stories, and taught the boy early that asking questions led to consequences. Blue specialized in secrecy, in cultivating alibis, in making abnormal feel almost routine. And then there was Red. Red was violence incarnate. Red didn't hide, Red raged. She shattered objects to make a point, destroyed toys to punish joy, and attacked the idea of ownership itself, especially the father's. Clothes were cut apart, documents were destroyed, personal items discarded as if his existence was contraband. Red spoke openly about death, rehearsed it as a matter of fact, even prepped the children for death, oncoming death. Planned it, even. She poisoned meals in small, escalating doses. She called strangers in the middle of the night to discuss solutions, laughing as if murders were a logistical inconvenience. Red threatened the children not with punishment, but with annihilation. Herself, them, everyone using terror as a leash. Red also stole. She scammed. She referred to it as getting her lick back. She manipulated faith communities by day and ran cons by night, moving effortlessly between moral superiority and criminal appetite. She fabricated narratives about the others before they could even speak, accusing them of the very crimes she herself committed. Fraud, theft, instability, because accusation was her shield. And through these accusations, she ran these narratives to distract people long enough, pushing to make it look like it wasn't her, and everyone was the problem but her. When confronted, she cried, she collapsed, she prayed, she even weaponized sympathy with surgical precision. Venus squared Neptune blurred truth into performance, and Venus squared Saturn turned relationships into leverage. Future, past, present, all relationships. Everybody was a pawn in her game of chess, if you will. These attacks escalated from domestic terror to calculated campaigns. Isolation first, then character assassination. The quiet attempts that looked like accidents almost. Each failure made Red more reckless. What she never realized was that the father, marked by a resilience that she couldn't break, had already become an anomaly. When he survived what nobody else did, something larger reactivated. Cold cases from the past. Something that shouldn't have been. Came back. It was called the Winters Project. It was a years-long investigation, high-profile investigation using advanced surveillance and behavioral modeling. And this had been tracking her network for a very long time, long before she even noticed the pressure closing in. As arrest rippled outward, Red's world became collapsing on itself. Assets froze, allies vanished, phones went silent. The Pisces stellium dragged every secret into the open. When the Leo fire exposed what had always been hiding in plain sight, the boy watched as the colors lost their dominance. Warm's mask cracked, Blue's secrets surfaced, and Red's threats finally met consequence. In the aftermath, the house felt different, quieter. Not safe, yet anyways, but honest in its emptiness. The boy learned that monsters often survive by splitting themselves into palatable versions, and that sometimes the only thing more terrifying than their rage is the patience of those who wait for proof. We're going to end this with the invocation of the unmasking and return to wholeness. In the name of truth that cannot be fractured, I call forth the light that reveals what was hidden, and the silence that ends the reign of terror. Let every false face fall away. Let every mask dissolve into memory. What was divided in the shadow, let it now be named, witnessed, and brought to account. I call upon the forces of balance and clarity, not to punish, but to end the cycle. Where rage rolled, let restraint rise. Where deceit thrived, let truth speak plainly. Where fear was used as a weapon, let safety return. May the voices that were ignored be heard. May the harm done in secret lose its power in the open. Let the innocent be shielded. Let the resilient be restored. And let the lies that sustain cruelty collapse under their own weight. By the authority of conscience, by the law that governs seen and unseen, I close the door to what must not continue and open the path towards healing, justice, and peace. What was broken is no longer hidden. What was endured is no longer dismissed. This story moves forward not in fear, but in truth. So it is witnessed, so it is sealed, so it is released. With the divine authority I contain, let this declaration be law that underlies law. And so it is. That's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully we all had a good holiday.